I wouldn't trust that because then I would actually trust fear as an emotion because I use that as a kind of a guidance too. The moment I'm fearful about something, I'm like, why am I fearful about it? What's the limitation? What's coming in between? And I want to move in that particular direction post that.
Yeah.
So I trust that when there's a particular fear in my life, it is pushing me to take a particular action. And I'm a very action-oriented person.
Right.
So I think I would trust fear as an emotion for me to move forward.
That's wonderful because people usually would think that would be a positive emotion again, but for me also it would be the same kind of a thing. What does wellness really mean today? In a time when we are over-focused on performance, likes, and quick fixes or results, our guest today brings it all back to something deeper. He's not just one of India's most respected holistic health coaches. He's a best-selling author, a trusted voice to thousands, and a tireless advocate for emotional intelligence in healing. From collaborations with Shilpa Shetty to educating millions of kids through Bharat Nutrition and Lifestyle Classroom, his influence is both public and profoundly personal. Welcome, Luke, to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. This is an incredible honor for me. I'm so excited to have this discussion with you.
Thank you for having me. I know we've been speaking about this for a while, and I'm really happy to be it.
Yeah, this is like, it's kind of like one of those things where you plan, and then when it's actually here, it really feels like even a bigger gift than it already is. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank
really,
you.
It's wonderful. What do you believe is the most elegant virtue that has helped you shape your path?
It's belief. I think it's faith and belief. Because I believe at this point in my career, when I look back at all our success, the patients who have done well, some maybe not so well, it's always been a belief that the human body has the ability to heal. Of course, you can use medicine, you can use different techniques and tools that are available, but the final healing comes from that belief that the body is powerful. And I think the moment we start to lose that belief that the body is powerful, I see everything starts to fall apart. So I think it's belief and faith in that belief that keeps us going.
Yeah, that's a great one. Actually, it's the first time we've heard that, and it's so very true. It's very poignant also because it's also with science, as you know very well, like neuroscience. If you have to believe something, if you start doubting it, you're actually affecting your body's system to be most effective. So, and also the emotional part of it as well, Okay, what's something about the business of wellness people would be shocked to know?
I think a lot of it is built on people's fears. And that's why we never look at wellness as a business. The moment you make it a business, you're looking at profits, which is not a bad thing. I want to make profits as well. I have a family to look after, I have my own livelihood. But I think when you have just a business, idea about it, you look very differently at it. I think wellness creates its own business. And when I say that, I'm not talking about like a business. Like when I started off, I had a job on the side because I thought that was my main revenue. I didn't think you could make too much money out of wellness. But the point is, when you start to help people with their health, it starts to build a model of its own. So the model that was built, and I'm speaking by example, was through sharing content. I would have an X amount of patients in a day. I would take a break at 1:30. I would share content on social media that, hey, my first 9 patients today, most of them didn't have to be in that line if they had done this, this, and this. Prevention. That content actually built us, just sharing that content. But the focus was on wellness, the patient in front of me. How am I going to help them identify the root cause, solve their problem? So I think that built the entire business, like you say, because of course it's operational. I have a team to pay. I have logistics to look after. But I think it can become very limiting when it's like hospitals. Let's be honest about that. Most and all private hospitals, they have huge, huge monies to look at. They have to keep the beds occupied. They have to keep the CT scans and the machines being used all the time. Now, that's a business, but it becomes a problem when you start giving people, telling them to get a CT when it's not required, keeping them an extra day in the ICU because it's not required or they don't have someone else to fill that spot. So yeah, that's the way I look at it when it comes to business. I think wellness always has to be a profession and the outcome of it can be a business. Now, if I want to scale up, and I want to get AI and I want to maybe probably lower the quality of my product to make it scalable and price efficient, we are going to lose out on the effectiveness of the product. So I guess everyone gets to decide where they want to be. Like the kind of work we do, we can never scale. A lot of people have come and said, hey, I met people in Silicon Valley, look, I'll scale your business with AI and stuff. When I look at it, with the amount of time that we spend with each patient, the amount of human connect that we need, we're not scalable. And so we made our peace with that. This part of our business or our healthcare and wellness programs is not scalable. It's lifestyle, and we're happy with that. So I think, you need to look at it with that perspective, because business can also drive us off our core values. It's very difficult to maintain your core values if you're only chasing profits and looking at business.
Very true. So I'm so glad you said your core values, because it's exactly what I heard so much coming through with what you just said, is that fear is driving a lot of people. Either maybe fear of not covering costs, or fear of their own illness, or whatever the fear is. And you countered that with generosity of spirit and of information. You're giving information to people. So that's how you countered that one. But also you stayed very true to your values and what you're doing, that you are patient centered, that you are client centered, that you have something that you want to deliver, and you want to make sure that it's not just because you have a business to run, but that you have ethos and that you have the values that you have, and you want to make sure that you don't lose that, which is really, really important and very conscious. And the ideas of conscious learning and living consciously, this is a very big part of it. You need to know your values, and your value is not necessarily a dollar amount. Your value is very much who you are, what you believe in, and what you're trying to achieve, which is healing people, right? So fantastic. Has there been a moment when you felt trapped by the identity of others that they built for you? And how did you push past it? So when I think of wellness, I think of you immediately. Like, you are the wellness, if you will, wellness king, if you will. So has that frame ever been a limitation to you? And have you ever had to push past it?
Yeah, we've had limitations from day one, because when I started off, I started off pretty late. I started off at age 36, actually moving completely into this space and the kind of field that we chose, which was lifestyle medicine. A lot of people didn't understand that. So doctors thought we were trying to take their patients away. Doctors thought that we were alternative medicine, telling people not to take medicine, but we're not that. But without understanding, people put those limitations on us. We would have our own patients come to us and say, hey, my doctor said eat what you want, nutrition doesn't matter, and stuff like that. But I had two choices, and I tried both of them. First was fight the system. And I realized, because I had a mentor at Yale and I had a mentor at Stanford, and both of them at that time, one was 73 and the other was 79. And then I had Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is now in his 80s, all as my mentors. And they saw me try to fight the system. They said, Luke, you're fighting for something great. Okay, but do you want to spend a life fighting to try to be right? Or do you want to prove yourself and let your work speak for it? I chose option two. And we broke through limitations, because at that time, the limitations were trying to get recognized in your field. Today, it's way past that. Today, it's fighting the system, bigger systems, where you'll have doctors still telling their patients eat what you want when you on chemotherapy, and even though medical science has proven that nutrition is fine. So there are always limitations, but we've learned how to navigate through them. So there are limitations at every given point, because people still look at wellness as a very vast subject. We see it as it's fragmented. All we're trying to do is put the pieces of the puzzle back. You need medicine, take medicine, but what's the best way to do it? Okay, you need alternative medicine, take alternative medicine, but not at the cost of a risk factor where you're like stopping a chemotherapy or a radiation. So we're just trying to bring the pieces of the puzzle back together, but there are limitations, and there will always be
Yeah,
limitations.
of course. Now, since you spoke about your mentors, mentors are a huge part, I think, of anyone's success. I'm sure you're a mentor for many people, either direct relationships that you're having, but just through what you're doing on social media and what you're doing elsewhere. What's one piece of advice as a mentor, if you were saying to somebody that wants to make this kind of impactful change in their own industry? Where would you tell them to start?
I think, again, it's your beliefs, because you can build anything out of your belief system. Like, I believed 100% that the human body can heal itself with, of course, what it needs. Like, you need medicine, but finally, we all know, because when you read medical literature, we all know that even in surgery, the doctor can cut open the body, repair, do the plumbing work, fix, which is fantastic. But finally, even he or she's dependent, how's the body going to heal post this? Which is why you're putting critical care under observation once the work is done. And I think anyone holding on to a particular belief, like it could be someone teaching yoga, someone teaching mental health. If you have a belief that someone can get better, because I see a lot of people fail when their beliefs are not strong, and then they start grasping onto the next quick fix, the next supplement. But I think your belief has to be so strong that no matter what anyone says, because sometimes our belief challenges science as well. For us, just because science can't explain something doesn't mean it's not going to happen, as long as we're not doing harm to people. So, like Dr. Bruce Lipton always says, our minds are the placebo effect. And when you look at pharmaceuticals using placebos for every single drug that is now in the pharmacy, but you don't want to talk about it to patients, is ironic and hypocrisy. So sometimes we got to challenge science because our belief system is so strong. But a lot of people, their belief is not strong. They want to be liked. They want to be validated all the time. So they keep changing their value system and beliefs. And that's where you'll have short term success, and it keeps falling until you find the next thing to keep people engaged. So,
How do you tell someone that's starting to doubt their beliefs? What do you say? How would you encourage them to really lean into their beliefs and to get back on track that way?
I think it can happen to everyone, because sometimes even me, my team members, we've done everything and the patient takes the opposite direction. They're deteriorating, you've tried everything. And of course, there's faith. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. But sometimes we start losing that faith in our belief that, hey, we did everything and it's always worked, but it didn't work right now. And then it's a reminder that, hey, but everybody's different. And then we try to remember everything that's worked before, because it's very easy to have an imposter syndrome and figure out that, is this really correct? Is this not correct? So you keep aligning back to the cases which were successful, the cases where your belief had a positive impact. And, that's how we get through.
So, in that self, are there any limiting beliefs that you previously held that maybe were holding you back?
I think a lot of them. And, I discover them even 10 years later, sometimes 13, 14 years later, because when there's some part of your life which is kind of stuck, or some part of your process which is stuck, it's usually because you have a limiting thought process around it. And, we're learning so much. We're learning to unlearn what I learned back in nutrition school. A lot of it is not relevant anymore. I mean, the basics will be right, the fundamentals, anatomy, everything. That's not changing. In fact, that's evolving. But many, many things that we learn today, we have to actually go back and tell people that, hey, it's changed. The science has changed. And we're okay to do that because science is evolving and we need to keep changing. So if we have a fixed thought process around it, like a lot of people still believe that, hey, don't have fruits at this time, don't do this at this time. But the science has changed and it's working differently. So sometimes we have a lot of limiting thought processes and beliefs about when it comes to relationships, when it comes to, you know, religion, spirituality, and all of these things. So I think when we play around with that, it just opens up new doors, new actions, new thought processes. So I like your question because I think limiting thoughts and limiting belief systems can actually negatively impact us or keep us stagnant in the kind of work that we do.
Absolutely. And I think just in general, I mean, just like you said, there's been so much evolution and change in your science, in the area that you're an expert, but which should just show you that the only thing constant in life is change. So then why keep something that's holding us back intellectually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually? We should always be continuously growing and learning in those things. So when we feel like there's a block, it's because we probably set that for ourselves. So how do we undo it, right? So that's a really big thing. Okay, so talking about a little bit towards some decisions that you've made in your life. So, for example, overcoming limiting beliefs, no matter how long it takes us to get there, at least addressing them. What is maybe another small decision that you made that turned out to be a game changer in your career?
I, I think giving up my job, I was at IBM for about 10 years, very comfortable, good position. The money's fixed in your account every month. And in the last 2.5 years, that's when I had patients on the side. And I think life kept telling me it's time to decide now. Where do you want to be? So I would be like, okay, when I have 25 patients, and I'm earning almost the same as I'm earning in IBM, maybe that's the time I do it. But one fine day, I woke up and I decided that, hey, let's take a risk. It's okay. And I quit IBM. And just by making that decision, that 25 patients became 100 patients in the next week. So it was like life was waiting for me to close one door completely because I was keeping it half open. I was getting 25, 30, 25. So I think that was a major decision. Number one, for me to be fair to IBM and to be fair to my patients as well. So by closing that door, it opened up my entire career in this space. Post that, just one decision in 24 hours changed everything.
That takes a lot of self-trust, right? I mean, you're always going to have that fear. I think this goes into every part of our life. Parenting, for example, like you never feel like you're totally ready and you never feel like you're actually making the right choices, even though you have the full conscious intention to do so. Just like with your career, when you decide to make a career shift, which I know we're talking to a lot of people out there right now that maybe want to change their career, you can be very inspirational that way as well. Because yes, as you said, you had a really good job in one place. It was you wake up and at least it's predictable, right? And the human brain likes something that is predictable, right? That's safer. But then you knew that there was something inside of you. It's something, the self-trust that you could do it, that you needed to make that change. How would you encourage someone that they're not to tell them what to do, but to evaluate that feeling and to lean into self-trust, whatever the answer is?
Actually, I would be lying to say if I had those thoughts that you so beautifully put out. I made the decision from being overwhelmed. At the time I decided to quit IBM was because I had like 3 back-to-back trips to New York. I had new patients live to look at. I had a stint with Yale. I was meeting with Dr. David Katz, who was the MD of Yale, and he had promised to sit down and take me through this whole field of medicine. And I was like, how do I manage all of this? And I was like, more about thinking about the outcomes of my decision. I just said, quit, just that's it. So my decision was more from, just being overwhelmed, and the other side seemed much more exciting than IBM at that point. But coming back, because I have learned a lot post that, I think my advice to people would be, if we don't believe in ourselves, if we like, I've always believed in something that my dad taught me. It's a word called providence, that we'll be looked after no matter what. And when he used to tell us this, we would think, and what the hell is he talking about? He would always believe in providence, that you have to have faith that there's a safety net beyond you. And now at that point, we didn't have social media. So I'm not going to say that decision was way easier for me to work. If I had to make that decision today, when you're trapped in social media, you're trapped in what people are doing, it's a way more difficult decision. But I think if we all grow up knowing that there's a safety net and that we'll be looked after no matter what. Now, this means that we may have a little less, we may have a little more, and we got to be okay with that. I think we can trust our instincts. I do believe our instincts are always right. I think when we make a decision from a space of fear, it's usually always the wrong decision. So I would just advise people not to make a decision from a space of fear. Take your time, but your decision should not be from a space of fear.
Absolutely, and we should know, from an emotional intelligence standpoint and a neuroscience standpoint, if you will, that our brains are wired to be fearful for survival, right? So you need to almost be smarter than your brain, or as I say, just be aware. Be aware, be conscious, and then make your choices from that consciousness, which is the same thing. Don't make it from fear, make it from the awareness that what's going on. Okay, what is one boring daily ritual that holds deep emotional or spiritual value for you?
I think it would be, it's not really boring, but
I don't
uh,
like the word boring, by the way. My mother would say only boring people get bored. So we don't like the word boring, but let's say something that's in French, it's quotidien, like every day.
every
That
day,
is
yeah.
really important to you, though, that really makes a huge
Yeah,
impact.
it's not boring, but for me, it's connecting with natural light when I wake up.
Oh,
It's like a drug. It's like
mhm.
craving. I need to. Like even in Dubai,
Yes,
we were just speaking about it. Like I would wake up, go down by the pool,
yes,
and just get that natural light for even 10 to 15 minutes. It's
yes,
like I need it.
yes,
I need it before I get back into airports or back into the hotels. So for
yes.
me, it's natural light.
Is there a part of you that you are still healing, something that you haven't fully addressed?
Oh, absolutely. I think there would be many because, and how would I know this? Because there are many things that trigger me.
Mhm.
And when something triggers you, you know that there's stuff that needs to be healed. So it's constant.
Mhm.
It's constant. And the thing is, I think, like you rightly said, I just bring awareness to it right now. I'm not trying to chase it to kind of heal because some of them are actually strengths in my work,
Yes,
and
yes,
some of them could be, areas of opportunity or weaknesses in the real world.
yes,
It's like the other day I met a very, very successful billionaire, and he was like, hey, Luke, I've come to you. I want to fix my health. I have these issues with my heart, but my main thing is I don't want to be angry anymore.
Hmm.
It's like, I just don't want to be angry anymore. So I asked him that to build your business, you're a billionaire, you're successful, you have a reputation, you have a name. I said, would you do it? Would you be able to do it without anger?
Mhm.
And he said, absolutely not. So I said, then let's not be so negative about anger. You want to probably channel it differently right now.
Yeah.
But it was a necessary element for you to build your business. And like this, I ask so many successful people about emotions that they want to change or wounds that they want to heal. Like I was with an artist in Switzerland. She said, Luke, I'm so good because I'm hurt.
Mhm.
I've gone through pain. I've lost love. I've been betrayed. And that's why I can make that art look that way.
Mhm.
So, of course, it can hurt other people outside our sphere of work. It could be red flags for other people. But at this point in life, I look at it very consciously. There are many things that I may not want to change. I may want to just get a little bit better at.
Mhm.
But I think the human frame and spectrum has, everything, the negatives and the positives, and it's how we channel it and stuff. Because if I had to heal all of those kind of triggers and wounds, I don't think I would be as successful as I can right now with most of my patients. So yeah.
Yeah, the healing is a constant journey, but I also think it's exactly like what you said about the various patients that you were just speaking about, or people that you know. It's acknowledging that it's there, and that is it resourceful or not to you. This is the thing. So, for example, the artist that you were talking about with the painting, this depth of feeling and the experiences that she's been through, you don't want to erase those. You don't want to close them like as if everything's finished and let's toss it aside, because that is creating this energy for her to create beautiful things or emotive things or things that move people. So you don't want that to just shut off like a faucet. You want her to be aware of it, that this is something resourceful to me. Or the gentleman that has the anger, frustration. It's not the anger itself, it's the impact on him. So maybe he wants to shift that instead.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's is it resourceful? Is it not resourceful? Is it something that's good or bad? I don't like to gut near, because good and bad is an assessment of something that's too black and white, right? True. Is it something that is resourceful to them, or is it something that's taking away from their ability to achieve, to build relationships, to whatever else it is? So now that we're on the emotional discussion, so you've become a vocal advocate for emotional health, which is one of the reasons why we have you here today, and one of the things we've really connected on. Were there defining moments that triggered your shift into talking more openly about emotional health?
I think there were phases, because back in nutrition school, you don't have a subject on emotions. You need to have it in medical school, and even now in nutrition school, they don't have that subject.
Interesting. Yeah.
But sometimes, like I said, you have a patient in front of you who's not getting better, is on medication, the best nutrition, and then you start to go deeper into what are we missing. And in every single case, it comes down to emotional health. And then you connect the dots. Like today, we want people to eat better. But you can eat better when you're in the right emotional frame. You can sleep better when you're in the right emotional frame. You can heal better because you're in the parasympathetic nervous system, where anatomically healing can only happen then.
Right.
So when you have all the science already out there and you put it together, emotional wellness becomes the top of the paradigm of lifestyle medicine.
Yes.
Because without that, you're unable to, if you're angry, you're not digesting even the best organic food.
Right.
Your exercise becomes more like a punishment for your body rather than something which is elegant and graceful.
Yes.
So the whole point is that's the reason we started speaking about that. And then we started having patients who were like, hey, Luke, all my pains are when I reach home at this particular time, or when I have this at 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday. And hey, what's happening at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Friday? I'm in a business review with this particular manager. Or I'm fine at work, but when I come home, what's wrong? Oh, we have a toxic relationship, me and my husband. And then you understand the impact of emotions on pain. People get pain when they're in an emotional situation. People fly out for a holiday, all of their allergies disappear. That could be also because of the air. The environment has changed. So when environment has such an impact on physical health, we have to speak about it. It's part of our programs. It's part of our consults. And that's why I value the work that you're doing, because it is a medicine at the end of the day. I have patients who fly to the best hospitals across the world. They have the best nutrition, but they're not doing emotional work. And I have someone who'll go to a government hospital in Mumbai where it's free, the treatment, but they're working emotionally. Who do you think has a better outcome? The person going to the government hospital, because they're getting the basic fundamental medicine that they need. No complication, no extras, but they're working with their emotions, and the whole piece, the puzzle gets put together. So that's how it works.
Absolutely. It's the mind-body connection, and also just don't work against yourself, right? So it's the hardest thing though, because people don't ever like to look inside themselves and actually address it. It's like a huge resistance to this also. But also if you do that, then you're not working against yourself, and all the expertise that you're receiving from the best people around the world, from you and the medicine that they're receiving, you're working against yourself if you're not in the right emotional space, to be able to deal with it. What emotions have you had to relearn or redefine as an adult?
I think anger, because
I
was always told, hey, Luke, you get angry. I remember this goes back to school. But I believe when I break it down today with my knowledge, there's also righteous anger. There's anger and there's righteous anger. If I'm getting angry over stupid things because it's driven by ego and pride, it's very different.
Right.
But there's righteous anger. Like, you read about a young girl getting abused, at 9 and you're going to get angry.
Mhm.
I like that I'm getting angry because I'm driven primally. I have primal instincts that drive me, and I like to keep them completely uncovered with the social fluff that kind of, dampens people's primal things. So, what do I mean? When I'm primally driven, for me, protection and provision is like you take it away from me, you take me out of anything that I can do to protect and provide. I can't, it's very difficult for me to be who I need to be. So, when I have a patient in front of me, okay, I want to protect this person, I want to provide for this person, whatever it is to fix. The whole point is, when you look at righteous anger. So if I hear, like people say, Luke, oncologists will say this, eat what you want. It makes me, of course it makes me angry because I want the patient to heal. The family's upset. They don't want to lose the patient. I like that righteous anger because it drives me to, make changes, write to the ICMR, file a lawsuit if I have to, take actions to fix that problem because it's not okay with me.
Right.
It's absolutely not okay with me. So I believe there are these emotions. I also believe that, envy is, people say don't envy, but I believe you can look at envy in different ways. You can want something and you can go on being negative towards that person, or you can say that, hey, if that person could do it, I can do it too. How do I do it? And then you take the actions required. So you can redefine emotions all the time. I think resentment can also be used. I think every negative emotion can be used, for the betterment of ourselves personally. If, like you rightly said, we're conscious about it, we're not harming other people, we're not harming ourselves, but we're able to channel, because a negative emotion is also an energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Everything
all
is energy.
emotions are energies.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do I uncover that energy to use it the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is energy. And actually, I personally do not believe that there are good or bad emotions. As you said very well, the society has put some kind of labels on things. Anger is actually one of the most complicated ones because depending on the society, but most of them, or anywhere you are in the world, say that anger is a bad thing. And I agree with you. It's if it's resourceful to you, as in it's not blinding, it's not ego driven, it's not any of these things. It's actually resourceful because it's leading you towards something because you are conscious of it. You're aware, conscious, and you're looking beneath, because anger is a blanket emotion. So you have anger is never just itself. It's always something else. And it's like I like to think of it as like roots to a tree. You're getting the trees moving on the top with the anger part, but it's the roots. There's something going on underneath of there. It's telling you a lot. And anger is something that, I mean, where I grew up in this society, which I grew up in, anger was something that was like not a tolerated emotion, so I actually didn't have a good way to express it, understand it. It was very much ignored, if you were, which is a very unhealthy way to process things. And so it took me quite some time to just address anger, and what it is and how important it is. So anger is a great one. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And also the idea and the process of it for all your emotions. They're not good or bad. It just, they need investigation. They need consciousness. And then you need to do something with them. Don't let them just sit in yourself. Okay, what is one part of traditional Indian wellness you think is still misunderstood, even within the wellness community?
I would say it's Ayurveda. I think Ayurveda is a beautiful science. The thing is, I think a lot of people in the field of Ayurveda have worked with egos and prides to kind of say this is better than Western medicine. There are parts of it, like you have a digestive issue, you have gas, and there's no underlying issue like a abdominal cancer, whatever it is. Yeah, treat it.
Yeah.
Treat it with cumin,
Yes.
treat it with fennel. That's great. But when you start to kind of bring in ego in your science of medicine, saying that, hey, don't take chemotherapy, don't take radiation, don't take a statin, come to us. It isn't built for that system. I like the tradition of Ayurveda explaining that, every disease starts from a toxic overload in the body and in the mind. And I really like that because you can apply that to Western medicine as well.
Yes.
The whole idea is clean out the system first.
Yes.
Give the body the energy to heal, the ability to heal. So I think that's something which is deeply rooted in our tradition, and even the practice of yoga as a lifestyle, whether it's breath work, it's meditation.
Yes.
The amount of research in the Western world today on yoga, pranayam, again, I think it hits us the wrong way because people it's either this or that.
It doesn't have, nothing in life is black and white. Why do we always make it like this? I don't know. We position ourselves in a certain way where we say it has to be this way or that way. I am this or I am that. It is Western or it is Eastern medicine. It can't be an existence that has both of it together. It can't be an evolution. It should be an evolution, a coming together of things, addressing it, as you said, at its core. And then whatever else needs to come after that. It doesn't have to be, well, I'm only doing this or I'm only doing that. It's how about we look at this holistically? It's a a holistic approach to life.
That's a limitation, because then people in India get angry every time they see, someone from the West talking about pranayam or breath work. They say, give us credit, give us credit. Take all the credit you want. But the point is, the West is taking this and making something out of it. My point is, you're living in a country in India, and I won't blame the Indian mentality. We have to remember consciously that we were always ruled. Our parents, so we've all grown up thinking that, hey, it's always the Western influence. But I want to awaken Indians to the fact that, open up your mindset. We're living in a country where we have such powerful traditions of pranayam, yoga, great food. But our limitations are that, hey, either ape the West blindly or put the system down because we don't have science. There is science. Just not put into the limelight. So I think when you integrate this, in fact, a lot of our neurosurgeons, whether it's at Stanford, whether it's in India, Dubai, they are prescribing yoga to their patients today. They're telling them, hey, go back. One of the best things that you can do right now is light yoga, pranayam. If it's being prescribed, we need to use it. But I think these are the issues that we have right now, that mindset, which is very limiting to, it's either this or that. So I think we have a lot of great traditions in our country. Our foods can be very, very healing. But again, you can't say, eat this food and your cancer is going to go. No, integrate it. The body is complex. It's, intelligent. You got to give it what it needs to get better.
Absolutely. If someone followed you for 48 hours with a hidden camera, what might surprise them about you, how you actually live?
I think it would be my really early bedtimes on most nights. And then I have this crazy thing of every time, between consults, between patients, I'll do some push-ups. I need to be on the move.
Moving.
I can relax deeply. That's my sleep, 8 hours at night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, and that's why I'm never dressed formally, because you can't do squats if you're dressed in formal pants and stuff like that. But
right.
yeah, I think that's what they'll find.
Yeah.
That's what they'll mostly find.
So you created programs, built communities, amazing communities, which I am a part of, one of your community, written books, but purpose evolves. So what is fueling you now?
It's always my next patient. It's always my next patient. That's the goal, and that will always be the goal. So everything, whether it's new business proposals, whatever it is, it revolves around, my patient first, because that's what's built me and that's what my gift is. So if I have to divert from it, and a couple of times I've made that mistake, of course, as you're growing you get into different businesses and you get into products and and then it just starts to steal you away from your main purpose and what really keeps me happy and going. And then you start to feel empty and dissatisfied. So I've been through that. I've tried all of those things. And now it's not that I can't be there, but the priority will be this. So even if I'm doing a business deal with anyone tomorrow, they know it revolves around this first and everything is secondary, because that's what keeps me going. That's my purpose.
I'm very excited to hear about this. So can you tell me a little bit about what is the why behind the Pink Tiger project? I can't wait to hear about this if you're willing to talk about it. And how do you define clean eating in today's wellness climate?
It's actually very difficult to define clean eating. Clean eating is having access to food which is not adulterated, and that's our biggest problem in India right now. Yeah. And I would say it's a huge problem in Dubai as well.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah, I was scanning labels in Dubai this time, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of bad stuff over there.
Yes.
So the Pink Tiger was basically born from, what do we feed our patients? And what do we feed our families?
Yes.
It started off as personal, because all our patients are, hey, Luke, what do I feed my mom? Where do I get the best food? We've had our patients testing food samples, products and nutraceuticals in labs and come up with the worst results for some of the best brands. Mm-hmm. And that's when it hit us personally that, hey, they're eating that, we're eating that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what do I feed my own family? Right. What do I eat myself? And that's why we came up with the whole Pink Tiger thing. It's not meant to be a business. It's meant to be a project. And we said that we committed that we'll try to find 5 of the best of everything. Because I believe if you have 5 options of protein, lentils, legumes, salts, oils, that's good enough. You can choose from whichever one you want. There are 5. You select which one you want.
Right.
And that's our mission. So I think we've covered proteins, some nutraceuticals. Where we're stuck are spices. Okay. We're still unable to find a clean spice brand in our country, which is actually very concerning, because as Indians, and even in the Middle Eastern culture, we use spices in everything. Yes. But the level of heavy metals and all of that. So the whole Pink Tiger initiative now is to bring limelight. So we want ethical founders to realize that, hey, there is someone who's willing to support us. So let's create that product. So right now, as we speak, there are a lot of brands and founders who have come up to us and said, Luke, we want to fit into this project. And they know what they need to do.
Right.
Just make sure that your product passes the test.
Yeah.
So hopefully in a couple of months, we'll be able to solve this problem. And at least every Indian citizen should have 5 brands to choose from. And then that could become 10, that can become 15. But yeah, it's a huge concern right now.
I'm sure it will turn into those things, but it is a huge concern, especially with the spices, which makes me very, because I'm one of those people that read the labels and I try to eat very, very cleanly and very simply wholly, if you will. But the spices, I mean, it's really hard because you don't know, I mean, it says what it is, but you actually don't know where it came from, where the source is and what's in it and exactly the heavy metals, which is a big concern because I like spices a lot. So it's a hard because you're like, I'm being so careful about what I'm eating, but then I'm putting this on it. It's like, why am I doing
and speaking about labels, it's great to read labels, but the bigger issue in our country, people are lying through their labels. I think the Food Farmer did a great job in educating people to read labels, which is fantastic. Great. But the point is, what happens when the brand is lying about it? There's no label accuracy. The reports, you can get a third-party lab in India to give you the kind of report that you want for your food. So they can't get sued. So there's a lot of dishonesty in the food chain, and we're hopefully trying to clean that up.
Well, amazing. It sounds like a great project, and I look forward to supporting it.
Thank
for
you.
Sure. What's one powerful lesson that the Bharat Nutritional Classroom taught you about Indians' next generation?
I think we've covered a couple of thousands of students right now and their parents through this initiative. Students are hungry to learn. They want to learn. They're asking intelligent questions. They want to make the change because they're fed up of seeing their mums and dads sick, the generation above them. But they also feel very controlled in the environment. Like they learn something, but they go home and the parents are not kind of filling the gap by making those choices available. They're still giving them deep fried food and they're just saying, hey, it's easier to cook. It's easier to do this. So again, we've realized through this, we can educate people, but the biggest gap is how do you put it into action? So we have a couple of plans. We're working with the government of India. We have the Prime Minister's support for this as well.
Which is amazing.
To kind of push this into action. So we're hopeful that it's going to be a long journey, but it will come.
Yeah. And how did that start? The concept start? Like how did you want to start to get into, for example, this next generation and nutrition in schools?
I think the Prime Minister told us that that's a space we need to be in. So when I met him, he said there are 2 things, Luke, that we need to work on. One is prevention, because we have diabetes as the capital, obesity. We don't have the infrastructure to manage this. It's estimated that with the amount of pre-diabetics in the next 2 to 3 years, there could be 450 million diabetics. We don't have the infrastructure for that. We don't. So prevention. So he said prevention is 1. 2 is at grassroots level. Start with the children, the next generation, because they never got educated on this. So he asked us to start doing this, and that's why we started putting this in process. I think it was a great idea and a great vision, and we're happy to support that.
It's a wonderful vision, and it's they chose also the right partner to be doing it with, so that's fantastic. You said emotional health is central to lifestyle change, but what's one emotion that still hijacks your day sometimes?
I think sometimes you get overwhelmed. I think that would be the emotion for me because you don't know what the outcome of your next consult's going to be. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're heavy, like really heavy. Like in Dubai, I had 4 back-to-backs of women who were molested when they were 6, 7, and 8 years old by their own family members. No matter how many cases we've handled like this, it just leaves you, with that heaviness. Like again, that anger, how do we fix the system? And I want to go on social media. And these parents, to make it worse, of these children who were abused, told their kids who were abused when they went to tell them that, oh, it was your fault. It's because you did this. It's because you act like this. And don't go and tell anyone else because no one will marry you. That angers me so much. And then you get overwhelmed and, you're obviously not at baseline of your emotions. And then the next couple of consults will be in a different way. And then, you need to take that break in between and realize, but there's a part of me that doesn't want to accept it. Why should we accept it? What can we do to change this? And so I do want to go out on social media, talk about these things loudly and say all of these things. But I don't know if that's going to fix the problem. I still will do it. So I think for me, what hijacks my day could be, when I feel overwhelmed with all of these things happening. Death or people who are going to die is a common thing for us right now because we have patients who have come to us on palliative care when they're already terminal and there's a certain level of acceptance. those don't really trouble me anymore. We know what we need to do. I
Mhm.
think it's when you have people who are so emotionally messed up. They want
Mhm.
to get better, but they're so stuck. They're in
Mhm.
months and months of therapy, and sometimes even therapy. I love the word that you bring, consciousness. I
Mhm.
even believe therapy without consciousness can be a waste of time, and it could be more harmful to patients who are going with psychological problems.
Yes.
They're just put in cycles and cycles of therapy, but
Mhm.
they're never led the actions that they
Right.
need to take. They're just given tools and techniques.
Yes.
But I believe a great therapist or a coach should be able to enable them to take that action.
Mhm.
Like for me, the easiest thing is building a program. And what I keep teaching my team, that's not our job. Our job is to inspire action
Mhm.
in the
Yes.
individual or the patient.
Yes.
Otherwise, you can get that information on ChatGPT today.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah,
point is,
exactly.
how are we going to get them to take that action? How are we going to make them change that mindset that, hey, I have lung cancer now. I need to stop smoking.
Yeah.
I need to stop vaping.
Right.
How can
Right.
we inspire that change in them?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that feeling, that emotion of feeling overwhelmed is what can kind of really, and something that's really changed for me was I would wake up in the morning, get my sunlight, phone on. I don't look at social
Phone.
media anymore. Absolutely not. I have a team
Yeah.
that looks at social media. I will rarely go on social media unless I'm posting personally,
Mhm.
but I don't read comments anymore. I don't want to look at other people's lives. I don't want to look at anything because I have my sources of where I learn from.
Mhm.
And one of them is definitely not social media.
Yeah.
That's made a huge, huge
Yes, it does.
change.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that 1,000%. I think my life got so much happier and more whole when I hired a social media team to be able to manage all of that. Not that I still don't
Yeah.
engage, and not that I still don't do the personal posts and things of that nature, but it is really healthy to, and exactly like you said, get up, do your rituals, whatever those are,
Yeah.
meditation, etc. Out sunlight, fantastic, but don't get on your phone. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Like don't get on your phone, leave your phone. Don't get, especially because people get onto social media and things
Yeah.
like that. It's so, you need that space. You need that centering. It helps you with your emotional regulation. It helps you with all these different things. And it's a huge tip. So that's a big tip that came out of that answer is don't get, try to stay away from social media. Okay. What's one truth you wish every young wellness professional or content creator that you've never told before or spoken about? You wish one thing you wish that they knew before they started their career, before they got into content creation in wellness or in anything that you would like to give as advice?
Yeah, I think it's like the same question that you asked me. Get your why right. Why are you doing this? If you're doing it for validation, go ahead. If you're doing it for attention, go ahead. If you're doing it to change someone's life, why do you want to change someone's life? Today, the best way to build your social media page is by pulling down people, by dragging people down, by dragging products down, by all of that. That's fine. If that's your choice. But then you want to try to clean up your image, it's going to be extremely, extremely different. So decide. For me, for the longest time, I know I can have 1 million followers in no time if I change the way I put content out. If I agree with whatever my social media teams are telling me that, hey, Luke, but that's not aligned with my vision. My vision is to educate. So if I need long format content, it will be long format content. I can't teach you to look after your liver in a 30-second reel just because people's attention span's coming down. So I'm not looking down on these content creators. Choose your space and your why. If that's it, go ahead. You want to be everywhere, you want to be famous, choose that path. But for me, I want to leave a legacy. I want people to be able to teach their children that, hey, this is important for your health. Impact. It's like I love to assume the role of a farmer planting seeds. Like, what seed can you plant? If I'm putting a piece of content out there, it should plant a seed of something that's valuable or impactful. And this is something that I've learned from the Sheikh in Dubai. He's always taught me, ever since we looked after his sister who had cancer, we've been working with the family for the longest time, and he spends a lot of time with me now. He always says, look, everything, impact. You're sitting with a patient, you're sitting with someone with attitude, whatever it is, you don't have to like them, but leave them with some impact. No matter what, that's a seed. Just leave it. And I think that's my why. And for other people, get your why right. If your why isn't right, then you're going to see people constantly change. Today they're selling skin products, tomorrow they're selling something else, or they're doing something else. Like, your why is pretty established from the work that you do, from the words that you share on social media. It's so easy to figure it out without even asking you what your why is. So that would be even wellness. Even people like, we run a university where we teach lifestyle medicine. And I know every student in the class isn't going to make it. I know right then, based because their whys are not powerful enough. their why. Oh, my dad just wants me to do something. Oh, I don't know what I want to do in life, so I'm just doing this right now, which is okay. But you still have to have a solid why at some point in your life if you want to be successful at anything.
A lot of people don't get that solid why because they're not willing to sit with the uncomfortableness of asking themselves exactly what's going on with that why, right? So like people are just saying, why am I doing something? They're looking at it like, oh, because of this outside influence or external motivation, not internal motivation, for example, versus sitting and saying, okay, well, if it is my father that's asking me to do this, am I really okay with that? Is that really what should be driving me to do this? Is that enough for that to be driving me? Is this actually going to achieve what I want to achieve? Because it's not coming really from me. Can I sit with those questions? And that's the hard thing, is looking at that why. The why is a very big part, but it's also dissecting that kind of why and being like, okay, but am I okay with that why? Like, and that's what makes it solid or not. Like, am I really fully consciously and organically and authentically behind it, or is it something else, right? So the why is a huge part.
I'd like to add to that because you brought up a beautiful word again, authentically. A lot of the people out there who have made it big on social media, not everyone, but a lot of them who have constantly not got their why right and they're constantly shifting. There are patients with depression, with gut issues. And the only thing we can see through, they're super successful, great at their work, but they feel empty because they're not aligned. They still don't know what they're trying to fix. Today, the audience wants this, they start becoming that. They've literally become puppets to keep the validation going. And like I said, we're not here to judge them, but they have something to fix. They can't be on antidepressants anymore. They can't be on anti anxiety pills anymore. And they have one face out on social media, and here they are in a room with us, with a psychologist on medication. So that's why we can fill that gap by trying to finally understand who we want to be, our authentic self. And it would take time. If, like, again, I'm saying I didn't have social media when I started off. If I started off today, okay, I think I would be in that same situation, trying to figure out what pleases everyone before I start. So times are different. It's way more difficult and challenging today. So I want to respect that as well.
It is. No, and that's a wonderful thing to highlight and respect. It is very much more challenging because unfortunately social media, it leans against all those things that make that fearfulness of the human nature, those characteristics of the human nature and the way the brain works. It kind of feeds into all the ones that will feed it but limit us in a lot of different ways, or make these barriers to really understanding our authentic self, because we're always worried about how are we going to be seen, how are we going to perceive, is that what, etc. So it is hard. It's very hard, and it's very hard for the younger generation or the generations that are behind us to actually look at it in a, can I take myself away from this? Can I take a step back from it? I often advise for my clients, just when it comes to social media or when it comes to finding out who you are, exactly who you are, asking for what you really want inside yourself, to remove yourself from that. But it can be very difficult to do so when it's so integrated into their identity or who they are, how they're trying to build themselves professionally, personally, or otherwise. So it can be really, really hard for sure. If everything you built disappeared tomorrow, so there was no platform, the no following, would you still choose this path? And what does the next decade look like for you in your heart?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can confidently say that if I don't have a social media account tomorrow, nothing impacts my, yeah, because we never built our business dependent on social media. From day one, it was built on effectiveness. The patient in front of you, how do we fix their problem? So everything we have today is word of mouth. Of course, social media has been an amplification of our content and all of that stuff. But I can take away my accounts tomorrow, and at some point, I do think I will. I'm almost at the stage where I don't want to be on social media. It's not going to dent my wellness practice even a bit, because we never built it with an intention of it being running on social media. I mean, you can look at like TikTok. It's not in India anymore. And I do believe governments at some point are going to control social media hugely, hugely. So we've never been dependent on social media for any part of our clients, our business, our talks, or anything. It's always been word of mouth, because I do believe that is the most powerful way of marketing. And like I said, we're not a scalable business. Now, if we were a scalable business, yes, I would need social media. But yeah, touch wood, I do not need social media. So at some point, I'm almost at a level where I don't want to be on social media anymore, and I don't need us to be on social media, because I feel that's just going to cut so much of noise. And like when we grew, there wasn't social media when we first started off. So that's a testimony of the fact that it's word of mouth for
It's
us.
word of mouth, yeah, which is
Yeah.
your reputation, which
Yeah.
again boils down to your authenticity and the impact that you're making,
Thank you.
which is huge. Okay, so we're in the fun part of the interview, which I think the whole thing's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah.
It's been fun. But this is a rapid fire. It's not your typical rapid fire question. So short answers, big energy, which I will have no doubt of whatsoever. And they're all aligned with the heart, mind, body connection. Okay. So what is one emotion you trust the most?
Wow, I can't. It's a really good
It's a
question.
hard one.
Yeah,
It's a hard one, right?
I can't say anger. I wouldn't trust that because then I need, I would actually trust fear as an emotion because I use that as a kind of a guidance to the moment I'm fearful about something, I'm like, why am I fearful about it? What's the limitation? What's coming in between? And I want to move in that particular direction post that.
Yeah.
So I trust that when there's a particular fear in my life, it is pushing me to take a particular action. And I'm a very action oriented person.
Right.
So I think I would trust fear as an emotion for me
Yeah.
to move forward.
That's wonderful because people usually would think that would be a positive emotion again, but for me also it would be the same kind of a thing,
Okay.
Okay, one emotion you still struggle with.
I think it would be irritability. Yeah.
Okay. Worst wellness trend you'd cancel forever.
I think weight loss supplements.
Okay.
Yeah.
One wellness rule you quietly break.
Sugar. Desserts. Yeah.
Okay. If not this path, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I think I would still be an IBM.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't go back to being a DJ for sure.
Right.
Yeah, not that I don't enjoy it because it'll come it would interfere with my sleep now.
Right.
Very different.
Exactly.
So nothing could come in between my sleep. So that would be the only reason I wouldn't go back into that. Yeah.
Okay. A moment of failure that turned into a deep lesson.
I think rejection. Rejection when I started off my career, rejection by certain friends who I thought were friends, closing that door just opened up so many other doors. Rejection by the medical world, some parts of the medical world actually just drove me to want to prove them wrong. And today a lot of them are our clients. And so for me, it's like, that's a win.
Vindication.
Yeah.
Amazing. One food you'll never give up no matter what the science says.
I think it would be a slice of chocolate cake with buttercream icing.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't think that can cause harm to anyone unless you're overdoing it. Yeah.
Exactly. Everything in moderation. Okay. The last text you sent that made you smile.
Yeah, actually, it was yesterday as I was leaving Dubai. This manager of the hotel just reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I'm a fan of yours and I've been following your content. I was on leave. I didn't get a chance to see you again. And I just really, really, really do hope our paths will cross again." And I just replied that, yeah, why not? I'm always going to be in Dubai. Yeah. And he said, just the hope of, seeing you again makes me feel so good. And I think that kind of made me smile. Yeah. Just a random, I've never met him before, but I think random texts like that, you could feel the energy through the text and that kind of makes me smile.
Yeah, exactly. It's wonderful. Okay. A one-line mantra that you live by.
I think it would be consistency over intensity. Yeah.
Amazing. What's not part of your definition of success, even if the world says it should be?
I think it would be logic.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There are processes, when it comes to nutritional science, but I'm saying logic in looking at life, because I hugely believe in randomness, hugely. So logic would not be a part of, success for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Finish the sentence. People think I am blank, but actually I am blank.
Eccentric.
Okay.
But actually, I'm not interested in small talk.
Okay. What's louder, your inner critic or your intuition?
Intuition.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I always love it. That I knew the answer to anyway already before I even asked it. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Can't even tell you how incredibly excited I was for it, how much I've loved every question, every answer, and how much I've appreciated your time. And I know that you've given so many responses and so much information that will impact so many people. So thank you for being here and thank you for helping us decode success.
No, thank you so much. I've enjoyed being on the show and I really love all the questions. I've actually learned quite a bit from what you shared as well.
Thank you.
Again, the constant focus on consciousness, authenticity, because I think that fits in with the work that we're doing. Most of our people need that first.
Yes.
Then they need medicine. Then they need nutrition. They need that to find that authentic self. They need to find consciousness in their actions that they're taking every day. So thank you for that. And thank you for your energy as well.
Thank you. And it's always wonderful to see you. So
likewise.
And I love that the different things that we'll be working on together. So I'm so looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From probiotics to grounded joy, from clean eating to clean thinking, Luke Coutinho reminds us that true wellness isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's a lifestyle rooted in awareness, resilience, and the courage to feel. His story isn't just about healing the body. It's about coming home to yourself. Luke, thank you for showing us that success isn't just about what you build. It's about how you breathe through it. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep decoding success, one story at a time.